A young man talks about an ordeal he went through 5 years ago. Apparently he was intimidated and it prevented him from leaving his room. He lost hope in life and began to live his life aimlessly and spent his time on video spent playing Yin. Having teleported her to another world, Sean is greeted by a girl in white on her way there, who congratulates her on being chosen to reincarnate after careful consideration. He must be reborn. But even though he is happy and unperturbed that he died in the room he kept himself in, he informs her that the new world he is going to is a world where the faculty of magic means everything. Skills to make her new life easier. She also shows him to try and enjoy his new life this time, after the man hastily thinks animes for him to play all day and says he wants a nice quiet life with games. Chan gets a chance to fall asleep without understanding anything. He believes that this life is superior to each other. Then he agrees to reincarnate while being reincarnated. He is determined to use the skills that the angel promised him. He leads a surprisingly lazy life when he opens his life. His eyes realize that he is a baby, but he seems happy to be born in a royal family. The princess is excited to see him. On the other hand, the king is very happy. Especially the prince who follows them both thought about. Looking at the chest of the truly impressive prince, he sees that there is a royal insignia on his left breast, with which he has no doubt that the child is theirs. At the same time, a person who sees that his parents are kings. His parents, he comforts himself by thinking about it. Thin line for the throne. But the king immediately orders a magical evaluation of the prince. He seeks to know what the prince's maximum mana level is, which he believes will be very high. Since the prince is born of a defeated prince, the Devil King believes that this will bring the prince's mana level to at least 40 or 50. To his surprise, he is told that the prince is level 2 and has no element, so he can only use barrier magic. When he hears this, the king wonders how the prince's presence causes his subjects to resent him, believes that the princess hears this and immediately decides to tell the council that the prince died in childbirth. A man is surprised that he will die immediately after reincarnation, because he was surrounded by terrible people in his past life. He did not think that he would meet such people in this world, and the king seems to want to expose the prince. The wizard tries to warn him, but he tells the wizard to be quiet. Instead he orders one of the servants to throw the boy into the forest. The angel panics when he sees this. When he asks what happened, he tells the man that he has powerful abilities. Says that he gave and no one in the human world realized that this would happen because the gauge in the human world can only go up to 2 numbers, and also he forgot to give it an item. I know you're wondering what he set his level to. He put it in 1002. Not long after this man put himself alone in a basket in the forest. He remembers looking for a magician. He can use barrier magic to save himself. He until tries to use sick. According to his first rule, he finds a way to visualize it. He comes up with a Jacoboid, which makes him happy with the idea that magic can be so easy. Besides knowing that he can make it bigger and give it a different color, he tries to create. The cuboid changes its forms and realizes that he can make it into whatever he thinks and finally tries to use it for himself and defends himself with it. Then he lifts the cube with it and it works amazingly. He realizes that his power is more useful than he thinks. He believes that it is invisible. This gives him confidence that if a wild animal attacks him, he can defend himself. The wolf tries to eat him and he bites the cubes, and seeing how functional the cubes are, he decides to create another set of cubes to attack the wolf. Unfortunately, the cubes have no effect on the little AMD wolf. Since it doesn't hurt the wolf, he decides to use something bigger. He uses the cubes to lift some trees. He throws at the wolf. The trees fall on the wolf and he gets up easily. Then he decides to go bigger. This time he lifts a large piece of earth and directs it towards the wolf. Seeing the large earth approaching him, the wolf begins to beg for mercy. At first the man does not hear him, but he announces that he has surrendered when he shouts louder than he does. He stops later. After the attack is stopped, the wolf reveals that he wanted to eat HKM to replenish his mana but didn't know it would be so strong and wants to know what it is, but he can't talk because he's a baby. This surprises the wolf, who thinks his behavior makes perfect sense to the baby, and in order to respond, he uses his magic to turn his pada into a sound, after which he can speak at that moment. In response, he demands to know who he is, saying that he is Haruto, who was born in a distant kingdom but was abandoned due to his low mana level, which surprises the wolf as he senses the amount of mana emanating from the boy. Makes the baby wolf ask if he's the Demon King reincarnated since he's so obscure in the past, especially revealing that it makes him look like a loser doesn't because he accepts that he is indeed the Demon King. The werewolf is shocked to the bone when he hears this, but he sees it as a reasonable explanation for BJ's power. So he lies on his back to admit defeat and asks him to kill him. So he says he's fine, since he doesn't attack her. she sees it as an act of extreme generosity, which makes him swear to keep his promises to her, especially when he hears the proud flame Fenrir call him Frey, and then say goodbye. He addresses her by name. He makes a contract with her, and with this contract she calls him his master. She swears to devote herself to him, which he thinks is confusing because he only shortened her name and never gave her a new name, did not intend to give. But he doesn't seem to care what she has to say. At this point he suddenly becomes weak, wondering what the problem is. Haruto realizes it's not a problem he can solve with magic, it's Lv1002's hunger and he needs it, transforms into a wolfman to give him some milk. Seeing his master's life annoys him, as he complains that even after wearing his SKME clothes, he still looks dazzling. At that time he is ready to give her milk, but when he realizes that he has nothing to give, he realizes this and apologizes to her. Why are they talking to him? He notices that someone is approaching them, at which point he asks permission to kill them, but Haruto doesn't warn him. Doing so, and J and SV learn how to communicate, prompting her to ask him what's next. She then uses her magic to connect with him to tell him what to say. JS is a relative of the baby's parents who came to rescue the child. He tells them the story of how his wife was unable to bear a child and asks to be allowed to take the child, which Frey refuses to offer. Suit needs her to see this Haruto hungry and wants it, but he insists she doesn't need JT. Eventually she agrees and they follow the man home, and years later Haruto is grown up and now a G-man lives with and finds himself with a new one, sister, and her mother who loves her. She is trying to integrate with her family. The little girl doesn't want to be friends with her because she wants them to be close. Her mother offers to give her a present. Meanwhile she is alone in her room. Z, now that he has a clone of himself and that he has magically created, he pretends to use it to power up the efforts he spends on making the clone move and talk, but that will be difficult because the clone can't move, or talk. About that time, his father calls him and he goes down to see the swordsmanship setup. His father tells him that he should learn swordsmanship, but he insists that he only wants to learn ancient magic, but he is forced to leave, but his father convinces him that he needs to learn swordsmanship. H3 then hands him a wooden sword and attacks him before Taiza attacks him. He flies into the air and dodges the attack. Seeing this, his father was surprised. He was surprised. Low mana level and no element in this tomb can do it. Haruto also hits his sword on GR Lin, causing it to break and burn. His father tattoos to attack J, and when he returns, he quickly jumps in J, air, and th cis hell shake KF. His father, who saw him as SL methane, a man with level 30 mana, could do. They swords endings for that day with many unanswered questions. A few named his younger sister. It was a battle. Charlotte sees them and the witnesses and sees everything that has happened. She is also amazed at the skill shown by her brother's efforts to make the clone move and talk. Realizes how powerful he is, which makes him a demon later. When he tells his wife about it, she believes they can still take care of him, because she told us earlier that the boy is related to her. Does that mean he is related to the Demon King? His mother seems so bothered by the boys that Haruto thinks about him even though he is not her child. But she feels bad. Her heart is troubled by everything her father tells her, but they conclude that the boy can be raised as a human and he can be kidnapped. This turns all her calm thoughts about him into reality. She is left wondering if her brother is a demon or a human. Afterwards, we see the main character relaxing in bed, thankful that his father is busy so he doesn't force him to take fencing lessons. But then he hears desperate screams that he needs gauze and antiseptic for what he says. Find out what's going on. At that time he is able to see what is happening in different parts of the kingdom on the roof with his magic. In these visions he can observe many wounded warriors. They are being helped by nurses, and then he decides to go with his father, to ask what's going on. His father revealed that he was keeping a secret, meaning that the thieves attacked him, so when they got information about where their base was, they decided to attack them, but were ambushed by the sword. He's angry because they were careful, they were ready. He promised his people to finish them off, but they're all so despicable, and while we're seeing all the wounded, he's forced to see everything from Haruto apologized for being this is because for his age what he is being told must be terrible. He orders them to go home. The hero is very upset by what happened, but still decides to go home without saying anything. And then we see Fry taunting Goal, who himself is killed by some thieves. It's useless as he lets himself be defeated. But Hero Yu orders him to be quiet with a menacing aura. Flight remains silent, and Haruto uses his magic to walk among the wounded to quickly save all the soldiers, and even when they recover from severe injuries, everyone feels great joy instead of joy. Confused by what happened the night before, Flay stays at the door of Haruto's room, snoring as he sleeps, but suddenly wakes up and decides to leave the room, only to find Flay standing there for a while and talking to Haruto as he moves. for he doesn't say a word, so he remembers that the main character told him to shut up, and maybe that's why he was there without saying anything, and the main character thinks he's half an idiot and then proceeds to apologize. At that time he was angry and now he can speak again. But Fly apologizes to the hero because he believes that he hurt him. The hero is surprised because he is angry because he does not know what he did to him. And then the hero will be together, go with Fly to the top of the castle, where the hero teaches him that he can see different parts of the world with his magic. So he asks his father and his men to help him find out where the attackers are. Haruto starts looking around the different places until he finds them gathered together drinking and laughing. The hero doesn't look like thieves, but instead they look like regular soldiers, and the ambush seems strange to him. The flight probably indicates that the enemy was aware of the man's movements, his father's army, which makes the hero very suspicious, and then Haruto says that he was very confident that he would kill them all. So he uses his magic to fly with Fly, while Charlotte watches them from the window. The thieves are around, they are celebrating, a bonfire and another gathered in the room, and the two men congratulated the captain, who asked them to call him boss here and then rejoice at the defeat of the gold. But the boss says that they should not celebrate yet, because the end eventually he managed to escape. T wait for hours to finish with him at home, and at that time Haruto stopped in the room with Fly. The thieves were surprised and wondered who it was. The hero uses his magic to create barriers around the bad guys so they don't move when they try to attack. The thieves don't understand what the hero is talking about, so they keep fighting to escape. Haruto tells them to shut up, says, and then throws one of them. The thieves hit the wall with a lot of force and then tells the other two that they just have to answer more questions, and he threatens them that something bad will happen if they lie. The scene changes and we see 3 soldiers are tied up and with the main character Fly in front of them. Haruto discovers that they are soldiers from a neighboring empire, who have infiltrated the kingdom to try to install thieves and create internal chaos, and soldiers on the escape borders, they complain about their absence. The kingdom then admits that one of the thieves has an accomplice, but they don't know anything about him anymore, so Haruto thinks that his father's influence must be great for someone to do this, and then he comes to the following conclusion. Maybe there is someone in the kingdom who wants to kill his father, and the boss asks him for mercy, because he does not know anything else, and they stop the operation, and Haruto tells him that he cooperated and the Fly command thanks for that they have to burn the castle they're in, and the very scared boss tells him that they're only following orders. But Haruto doesn't seem to care and tells them that he doesn't care about their personal situation since they were ambushed, father, and that means he can't forgive them. And then we see Fly ready to attack and tell him that this will be the price they have to pay for angering their masters, and the thieves burn in the flames thrown by Fly and help they cry out in them. All the thieves automatically try to avoid, and now we see how the main character takes flight, leaving the castle on fire and congratulating each other for the work they have done. If they start attacking them, he will be cruel, and then he decides to send an anonymous letter to his father, where he explains what happened the next day, confirming that there is no count in the castle. A letter received by the hero's father states that he asks if the castle is completely burned down while holding Charlotte in one hand, which the emissary confirms, and according to the thieves, they manage to make an arrest shared. They do not know how they managed to escape, and Count Gold, enraged by the situation, does not know how the frontiersman allowed all this, and therefore he immediately ordered an investigation, and later we heard that the Count had already imagined it. They weren't ordinary thieves, but he was worried about the Empire's involvement, and after Charlotte listens to all this, the Count asks her who finished off the bad guys. She says she doesn't know, and whoever did it here has been very effective, a little mercy and a good mastery of fire. But everything points to a person who is Fly, because he is stronger than Gold, and therefore he roams the ruling monsters in the province, and in one of his adventures he determined to defeat everything, thieves. But when Charlotte hears this, she runs away, pretending that she forgot to do something, complete the goal, and order that if she wants to play outside, she must go with someone to accompany her, because the girl feels that everything is very dangerous and goes. But as she goes, she remembers what she saw at night and asks herself. Haruto meets Fly, asking himself who Charlotte really is, and asks her if there really are 2 Harutos. Fly looks at her strangely and asks what she's talking about and what's on her mind, and when he approaches her with his hand and Charlotte that night she's both of them admits that he has seen a similar person. He is flying from them, but Haruto knows that he has little mana for that, so he goes to his room to check it and finds the main character sleeping, but right now he doesn't feel the creepy aura he usually has, and so he now wonders what could be going on. LDI. He says that he is surprised and congratulates him for being able to perceive the great mana that the main character possesses, so he decides to tell him his whole story. and he tells him that the hero was given an incomparable power when he was a child, beyond any imaginable limit and undefeatable even for a demon like him, and that's why Master Haruto is impressive. But Charlotte asks him if he really knows who Haruto is, rides, and the monk replies that if he doesn't know, he can't say it, and he advises him to stop thinking about such trifles. So he leaves the fly and tells him. So after this speech, the fly tells the main character the whole story, which has worried Charlotte ever since she found a copy of it. In addition, she was worried that her sister was going to tell her father, but because of this situation, she decided to set up surveillance barriers, with which some alarms sounded depending on the location and what Charlotte was doing. And then Flay asked the hero why there were two, uses the opportunity to rush. Gentlemen, the main character Eva wakes up at night when the main character leaves her room insisting that she shouldn't worry about it and is about to go to the bathroom. Charlotte, who is spying on her, starts following her and Haruto knows she is spying. When she wonders why she has to face him to find out what the hero is doing, she automatically runs away when he turns around and tries to ask her sister something. The scene ends, changes, and we see the hero bathing and thinking. Her sister doesn't follow her there to spy on her because that would be very strange since the two were siblings. But the next day she made a mistake, the second since Charlotte started following the hero, and when her father practiced swordsmanship with Charlotte, on the third day, he did not leave her side. She was adamant about her vigilance and she did this for 7 days straight and watched her while she was doing any activity. Then we cut to the family table where the main character is her mother and Charlotte. As they eat as they travel found out that he was leaving the trip. Father says there is a festival at this time he usually attends, but this year he doesn't want to go, so the hero recommends Fly to go. His mother tells the hero she doesn't see him much and asks him who is there, and after hearing that asks that he has missions and Haruto. Remember that he sent Fly to make friends with the monsters so that they don't attack the kingdom, and with their magic, they watch how they do their work. Charlotte gets it right. Meanwhile, she continues to spy on him with a look that seems to have killed her in the afternoon. Her alarms are starting to go off because something has happened to Charlotte that has caused her to be upset. Changes and we see how Charlotte and her mother's guard soldiers are being defeated, so she runs away as she tries to escape. Many Imperial soldiers try to catch them and use magic to attack, so her mother tries to protect herself and Charlotte with magic. They still manage to hurt her. Suddenly one of Haruto's cubes appears about Charlotte. She shows her mother that she needs to run fast. While her mother is running, she wonders who is controlling Charlotte and does not understand how they do it. They finally arrive at a cliff where Charlotte tells her mother that she has to jump over a tall woman and uses her magic to feel the impact of the fall a little. But she runs out of mana. Charlotte tells her she has very little left, and they tell him where they have to go to hide, and so they manage to get to a cave where it is covered with bright moss so they can't hide with the light. And then the woman says she will find someone who is leading Charlotte, because she must be close, and she says she doesn't know who he is either, but she will be a hero for them. Charlotte asks what it is. Her mother answers her and tells her to hide here without making any noise. And Charlotte tells her mother to go away and be alone, starts to cry because she doesn't want to see what's left. But as her mother hugs her, she promises to always make sure she's safe. Charlotte continues to cry, but quickly realizes that her mother has run out. The cave is protected by illusion magic, a very advanced type of magic that only no one does. And then the Imperial soldiers arrive. They see Protozol's mother and order the rest of the men to search for Charlotte. Natalia thinks they shouldn't be caught. He has such a knife that he warns all the soldiers, but they do not wait until he is ready to kill himself before taking him hostage. And when the knife is close to his throat, he is cut into thousands of pieces and he is unconscious. But before falling to the ground, Haruto seems to support him, while he complains to himself that it took Naruto too long to arrive, but looks at the soldiers and tells them with an evil look that he is very angry, and the soldiers ask who this guy is. He made all the soldiers shoot at the trees. Meanwhile, Charlotte is in the cave praying for her mother to be okay. But then she hears footsteps approaching. Protol, who tells the little girl that her mother is fine, she's just passing out, and she has to wait because help is on the way. But Charlotte feels behind her how all the evil Laura of the main character surrounds the stone where she is hiding, and although she is very scared, Charlotte comes out of hiding to yell at the amazing hero Haruto, which was unexpected, so he is now discovered. But Charlotte asks him if he is a hero, and Haruto how to answer her doesn't know, so he gets very nervous and responds to it. He is known as the mysterious hero or the vigilante hero, and Charlotte is happy to hear this because she knew that the hero has the power to fight the bad guys, so she apologizes for being so stupid and tells him to leave her. She made a mistake with him. The main character says she has to keep the secret anyway, and he tells her that yes, he and her father even lied to her last night. Charlotte and her mother say that they are getting along very well, and then the target says that he wants to thank the man who saved him. but says that he can't because he doesn't want to reveal his secret, and also asks the hero what he thinks. He replies that he will be on his side if he behaves well. But then the hero relaxes and says that of course the hero takes care of the soldiers, and his father asks him how he knows they are soldiers. But the hero goes to the rescue will succeed, playing dumb situation, and then next to her mother, Charlotte and Fly enter the golf office to end the chapter. We see Charlotte give Haruto a big hug as her parents look at her blankly. Since when do they get along well and well? And after all this, we hear Haruto's alarm and Charlotte approaches Liv to ask the main character to play with her, and Haruto tells her to knock on the door. When she walks in, the girl says she'll do better next time and then hugs Haruto, who can't believe this is happening and is really enjoying it. The main character says that since the day he saved Charlotte, he goes into her room almost every day to be with her, but Haruto says that he feels the same as when he hated her, but now he doesn't know what to do, so he doesn't have much hit. Although he admits that it doesn't bother him anyway, it relaxes him, because it's like petting an animal. And then the girl is interested in the screens. The hero sees everything, so he asks him what that is. Haruto replies that it's observation magic, and Charlotte is excited to see the ancient magic for what she tells the hero. The old magic, Haruto tells the girl, is a little hard to learn because it's lost and there's nothing to it, but Charlotte tells him that it's already very wrong in the castle, and so he offers to take him there. When the protagonist arrives at the library, he is surprised to find that the castle contains this information. And then we see Charlotte with a ladder and she checks the shelves, looking for what can help the hero, and finally, to the hero's surprise, the sister brings him 5 books that he can study. Haruto read books by reading starts to cry. In the book Reclaiming Ancient Magic, he says that magic is not elemental, and modern magic fills it with 4 elements. So the hero discovers that his obstacles are related to ancient magic. Charlotte tells him that there are many theories about ancient magic, but it is the most interesting thing is that the main character, Charlotte, is surprised to see that she has read the book, because it has very complicated words, and her sister tells her that her mother and Fly helped her understand, but she still wants it. Read it better, and Haruto thinks it's time to act like a big brother, so he has no choice but to read the next book to her. Charlotte places the hero's feet on top of her to hear what she's going to read, and Haruto tells her that she has a chair next to her, but the girl replies that her mother and Fly will read it while sitting on her lap, and so Haruto agrees. While reading, she discovers that there are gods who can travel between worlds, which is amazing seems to him. But he also remembers that he already saw it in the anime, so he complains that he hasn't seen any anime in a long time, because it doesn't exist in this world, and Charlotte asks what kind of stories are told in the movie anime, and Haruto tells her that it will take some time to explain and that she doesn't understand. But Charlotte says that she shouldn't think about it because she promised to pay attention, and Haruto starts to hear it to explain to her what it is. All about anime, and I'll definitely show him the Pia plus or minus a colada video. But I stopped with the jokes. The main character tells him that each frame is colored and put it on tape, and because of that, the drawings are what they are. Moves, and they talk too. Charlotte doesn't believe what she heard, so she stares at the hero, who is very embarrassed. She is very embarrassed and believes that he is carried away and talks too much, and that's why her sister calls him weird. But he thinks so wrong because Charlotte is very excited. She says that these drawings are a very mysterious magic and she wants to see some anime, and Haruto tells her that he wants to see too. Charlotte suddenly feels very happy. The character with a clueless face says that he will be very happy to see her so excited and thanks her mother for raising Charlotte to be a good girl. And then Haruto promises to do everything in his power to see the balloon. Some anime 2 weeks have passed and the hero says that he has carried out his plan, but he doesn't care about the details. But basically a modern internet connection is established. Although he is surprised that the anime subscription is still active, and now he said he wanted to leave, create a child account to throw out, and he is a little scared and shocked when he comes into contact with the magic device. Haruto tells the balloon to choose an anime he wants to watch, and the girl cover chooses another girl who looks a lot like him. The main character congratulates him on his choice and hits play on emotional anime. The anime is about a girl taking an emotional shower and screaming and changing her clothes. Charlie looks amazing. Charles is surprised to see a moving drawing, and also as he talks and his eyes sparkle. He says that anime is very precious, so Haruto is happy that he likes it so much, but Charlie says there's a problem. He doesn't know what they're talking about, and Haruto says that's why he doesn't know, so Charlie asks him to teach him, but the main character thinks that learning a language is very difficult. Although at the age of 5 you learn very, very quickly. Then we see starting with Japanese lessons. It's great when Charlotte sees that every symbol she sees means something and the shape is so interesting. The character behind her is looking at her in amazement because she can't believe she's learned hiragana and katakana. Only 2 hours and then we see Charles looking for the meaning of justice on the internet. Which surprises Masaruto because he already knows the symbols he learns in elementary school. So he wonders what in the world he will give the children. From that day 2 weeks have passed since then and we watch the players enter the main character's room very happy and Shark wants Haruto to let him continue watching Tamisen. The main character asks him if he really likes the series, so for Charles tells him it's because zombies have invaded the great city. Saitama's movie is interrupted because the Justice League characters make it a very draw series. And the hero also asks him if he knows trains and cars. He is very happy. He replies that if he sees them, of course he can. When he meets them, Haruto worries that his sister has been watching them anime for 2 weeks. So he learned to learn Japanese. So he thinks he's a genius, and in this case, he's not allowed to watch anime for a long time. L shouldn't, but he can't tell him nothing, because he seems very happy to watch it. But the main character scolds himself because he is the big brother and he should be much stricter. We then see Chari mimicking anime characters. Great episode decides to fast forward to watch another one, but at that point the hero tells him to stop and says he can't watch the whole season at once, so he only insists on watching 3 hours of TV. Kunin is surprised to hear this from Haruto. So he is also angry. Why does the hero reply that it is not healthy for children to spend more time than this? But Charlie says that he feels very well, but yet the hero stands firm and tells her, because the time has come, go to dinner. The thing that drove him away at night drove him away. The family members gather for dinner, but they come to eat very sleepy because they were about to fall asleep at the table. His mother asks to find out what is going on under their watchful eye ride when his father and Haruto don't answer. Goal tells the protagonist that Sharp spends a lot of time with him and asks him what they usually do. The protagonist doesn't even know how to answer, but Charles admits that he's awake and reading ancient magic and then goes back to sleep. He is excited to learn that shooting will help the hero learn ancient magic, but he asks her to keep an eye on him so he doesn't go too far, to which Haruto says yes. He usually does that, and after dinner the kids go to his room. The hero says that he can't watch anime today and he shows that he needs to take a bath and go to bed early. He gets angry but still the hero's instructions and now Cal in his bathroom. The main character tries to take a shower, but the bath must be taken, next to him, so he wonders what the girl is saying. He's doing the hero's order and he has no choice but to sleep because he can't watch anime. Haruto complains that he's starting to talk in one voice, and Charles complains that he already has his mother with him today, warned that they are bathing together, and the protagonist thinks that there is nothing wrong with it because they are both children. But even though he feels guilty, the protagonist notices that the prophet is looking at him strangely and becomes stern. R starts to run away. Charles asks what mark the main character has and he says he's seen it before. He screams excitedly because it's the mark of one of the anime characters, and the hero calms down because he's talking about the anime and he answers that, but it's all a secret and he has to hide his heroism and then go to bed to take a bath. Say goodbye to the main character. Wish him good night and try to sleep. But suddenly he hears a noise and sees Charles sleeping happily next to him. Naruto can't believe what's happening and automatically gets upset, but then he sees his mother looking through the door and wonders what they're doing. Natalia too can watch his child. They also can't believe that he is carrying and says that his dream is coming true. So he congratulates the actors, saying that he should continue like this. Meanwhile, the hero will see the whole family the next day. Let him sleep in peace, doesn't he eat? Goal, who has gold and warriors gathered in front of him, goes to his family and tells them to stop the thieves. His wife asks him to be very careful. As the children say goodbye, Goal rides his horse and leaves in an impressive manner. She worries that she wants her father back in good health, and in the next scene, absolutely nothing happens to her. We see the girl very upset when she sees how the hero is using the internet, and Haruto tries to change her mood by telling her not to worry. The thieves were very ordinary people and dad alone can fix it. The girl asks her brother why these people decided to become thieves, and Haruto says that according to her father, he answers that there are certain things in the kingdom now, struggles, but comes out with great sadness and asks him if it's impossible for everyone to live happily ever after. The hero replies that everyone wants it, but it's not as easy as he thinks, and asks that it's not for him either, if attacking them isn't enough, and he starts to get angry. The hero tells him that his power should be used for this type of thing, and Haruto can't understand what he's hearing and wonders what anime series. She understood that he was saying this, but then lying down, the hero approached her, looked at her with shining eyes, and begged her to do something that would cause her to swell with great happiness. who would change to leave her asks but Haruto, asks him what he's saying and thinks that Sharpie must believe he's equal to an anime character, where the character mimics an anime pose and yells the word transformation at him, which is too much to see the character wearing a superhero costume. He goes to bed excited. A very embarrassed Charlie asks to be allowed to accompany him but Haruto automatically refuses to cause her grief. However, he leaves a surveillance screen where he can see everything she does. So he is very happy. In the next scene, we see the hero, at the top of the tree. He complains about what to do, but he does it anyway thanks to Chiruto, who manages to spot the thieves and block their exit, and then appears in front of them, who can't believe what they've seen. He introduces himself as the hero of justice and the thieves try to assassinate the protagonist, but he defeats them very easily with acrobatics like in the anime and then achieves the goal with his people. The purpose is because it's not like an internal struggle and asks the hero if he beat them all alone. Then the hero automatically introduces himself. He doesn't know what to say and tells him says it's still pending. Hearing this strange name, he asks him if he is the one who saved his wife and daughter, but the hero replies that he does not remember more. If you want to know about his purpose, and Haruto comes to protect him by choking, he answers. And protecting and promoting justice finally flies away. Leaving the goal is very interesting. At night, the hero falls very hard on his bed and in the background his sister says that he is wonderful and asks when he will go out, although the hero thinks that he should never do this again. But through his sister, he continued to fight again and again until he became known as the Dark Knight. Thus his alter ego was born, and the next day we watched, he became Charlotte's hero. Haruto is excited because he has finally finished his clone, which he has been doing all these months of reading. So he no longer has to leave the house and throw the half asleep under the sheets and be surprised to see the two of them. Laddie Jarutos wonders which one is his and fly looking for him after knocking on the door because it's time for him to go. Hero asks his clone to close it, but the clone says he doesn't want to. Then we watch the guests arriving at the castle. They are the Princess Marianne and Princess Luz. When the hero finds himself standing before the heir to the kingdom, he thinks that these two are his brothers, but the prince reprimands him for the tone in which he says his name, and his sister reprimands him for behaving properly. Stop pretending to be his older sister because they are not the same and she is just a tool. Haruto watches the prince's reaction and to him he seems like an idiot. The prince frowns at the main character and makes him behave, notices that he automatically scolds for and then points out to the protagonist that now they have to fight. Gold tries to stop him, but he can't. The protagonist complains about being in trouble, but the prince continues to taunt, very reliable. So seeing as he's level 9, he activates his mana counter, although his father and Charles are stronger than him. The prince is the first to complain about Haruto's absence, concentrates and the protagonist dodges the attack and the prince reprimands him saying that he shouldn't because he can't teach him anything, and Haruto forms a protective barrier around him and is attacked by the complaining prince, allows him to beat himself, that he won't counterattack for her. So when she hears this, she begins to attack the prince and finally defeats him. So the princess is surprised to learn that Haruto only has a level but makes very advanced moves. It's some and then iOS uses magic to attack, but the hero easily stops it, angering the prince who repeatedly attacks with a fireball, but it still can't pass the hero's barrier, and the princess scolds him because he won't. The silly prince complains about how I can use level 2 magic and Naruto asks him if he wants to deflect all of his attacks together, and the prince sees this and falls to his knees on the ground, and Haruto thinks he can finally retire to his room in peace. But the princess crosses his path to apologize for her brother's rudeness and asks him if it's true that he's a second level. The hero avoids the question and leaves on his own, but on his way, he thinks he should be worried because in the capital they know everything about him. And that would be the end of chapter 3.